having lectures during the regular academic year, and we're always a bit afraid that we won't get a turnout, as big a turnout as we expect. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We never thought that in the summertime, when we have summer school, the sun is out, the sea is warm, we'll be able to get as many of you here as we are doing tonight. And we're delighted, and I'm sure part of it has to do with our distinguished speaker, and part of it has to do with the subject matter, which is the forever relevant to all of us interested in international relations, Thucydides. How many of you have read Thucydides or anything about Thucydides? Oh, that's really good. Excellent. Impressive. Gerald, Lalonde, who is our speaker, is professor of classics at Cornell College, where he has taught for over 40 years, I believe. Including, he has taught the histories of ancient Greece and Rome, Greek and Roman archaeology and arts, and a wide variety of courses in Greek and Latin literature. In addition to his teaching, Dr. Lalonde, who has a PhD in classics from the University of Washington, conducts research on the topography and epigraphy of ancient Athens. He has published both a monograph, The Ancient Agora, 19 Inscriptions, or I don't know which pronunciation you want me to use now. Horoi, I'm not going to do this because I don't know how to do the Erasmus. Ori, Polite, Records, Leases of Public Property, co-authored with Mr. Langdon and Mr. Wallbank, and numerous articles on the subject. He recently published a second book, Oros Dios, an Athenian Shrine and Cult of Zeus, which analyzes evidence for shrine and cult of Zeus Melichius in Athens. Professor Lalonde has served as chair of classics at Cornell, chair of the faculty, 2 elected terms, and interim vice president for development and alumni relations. He has served as lecturer on study tours of Greece for Cornell students and alumni, the Smithsonian Institution, and the National Geographic Society. For 37 years, he has been Grinnell's faculty advisor for CYA, and we are very, very, very pleased to have had his students over the years. This summer, he is visiting senior fellow of the American School of Classical Studies at Athens. Dr. Lalonde is a member of the Board of Advisors of College here in Athens. So, without anything further,
thank you, Alexei. Thank you, Pedro. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for coming out. As Mr. Philippopoulos suggested, my relation with this program goes way back. One of my fondest memories, in fact, is my first sabbatical here in Athens in 1975. When Mr. Philippopoulos' mother, the founder of this program, Ismini Philippopoulou, was very kind to my wife and my daughter and me, inviting us to their home for Clean Monday, to lunches with the faculty and students. There I got to meet Professor H.D.F. Kiddo, whom I'd always admired for his still excellent little book called The Greeks. I got to know him personally. He was a great conversationalist. I've got a lot of mileage out of his description to me once of some errant politicians in the United States as blind men looking at a dark room for a black cat that doesn't exist. Today, something of similar serious politics. Thucydides on human nature and violence, pessimist or realist? This is a talk that I gave recently as the McKibben Lecture at Cornell College. Usually I like to speak from no notes or from notes, but as Quintilian, the Roman grammarian, said of Thucydides' style, it's dense, brief, and very hurried. A characteristic that doesn't lend itself to sort of loose expression or an aging memory. So please indulge me if I stick rather closely to the written lecture this evening. Teachers of undergraduate courses on the ancient Greeks face at least two challenges when it comes to Thucydides' history of the Peloponnesian War. First of these is usually reflected at least once in any batch of those student end of the course evaluations, anonymous. And that is that Thucydides is boring. Thucydides is not boring. If the board reader were canny, notice present contrary to fact tradition, you might argue that he is in the good company of Dionysius of Halicarnassus, who wrote, "The first and one may say the most necessary task for writers of any kind of history is to choose a noble subject and one pleasing to their readers. In this, Herodotus seems to me to have succeeded better than Thucydides." Dionysius' thinking was skewed not just because he was from Herodotus' hometown. As a rhetorician, he preferred writing with pleasing ornament. But for serious history, he should have known better. No, Thucydides is not boring. Since the Renaissance, when his work first began to appear in vernacular languages, great scholars have considered him a mastermind of political philosophy and history. One might quibble with Lord Macaulay's claim that he was the greatest historian that ever lived, but it would be hard to deny that the leap of his historiography beyond the slightly older Herodotus in focus, organization, reasoning, depth of thought, and impartiality is as astonishing as the leap of Newton beyond his predecessors in physics. On the point of boredom, then, I would quote an old colleague of mine who said, "You don't read Thucydides, he reads you." So, if we read Thucydides and find him boring, he has read us and found us wanting. But here I want to talk mainly about the other of these two challenges, though it overlaps with the first. And this is a set of notions that Thucydides is unreasonably pessimistic, that he exaggerates human ills because he is writing tragedy more than real history, or that he is unpleasantly out of sync with religious or philosophical beliefs about human goodness or perfectibility. Or he seems unduly pessimistic to those who tend to read him more in the context of their own experience and less in the context of Thucydides himself and the long term of human history. Dionysius has a share in these opinions also, thinking as a rhetorician that one should write only pleasing things about one's people, and so impugning Thucydides' frank and unbiased approach, he writes, "In his introduction, Thucydides makes it clear that he has chosen a bad subject, for he says that many cities of the Greeks were desolated because of the war. The natural consequence is that readers of the introduction feel an aversion to the subject, for it is the misfortunes of Greece that they are about to hear." Dionysius was one of the earliest of those annoying reviewers who pan a good book because it's not the one they would have written.